So let's start with what the trailer is really telling us, because on the surface, it looks calm, almost too calm. But if you pay attention, there's this constant tension underneath every single moment. And that tension? It all circles back to Bertha. We've seen her fight her way into high society step by step, pushing boundaries, breaking rules, and honestly, doing whatever it takes to win. But the trailer makes it very clear that this time, things are different. This time, it's not about getting in anymore, it's about holding on. And that's a much harder game to play. There are quick glimpses of social gatherings, conversations that feel polite but carry something sharper underneath, and the way people look at Bertha now, it's not admiration anymore. It's something else. It feels like judgment, like they're waiting for her to slip. And that's the part that changes everything, because for the first time, Bertha isn't the outsider trying to break in. She's the target. And at the same time, we can't ignore what's happening with George. The trailer doesn't give us direct answers, but it gives us enough to feel that something is still not right. There's distance there. Not just physically, but emotionally. And after everything they went through, that distance feels even heavier. What's really interesting is how the trailer doesn't show any clear resolution between them. Instead, it leans into uncertainty. You can see Bertha trying to stay in control, trying to maintain that strong image she always has, but it's slipping. Just a little. And that small crack? That's where everything starts to fall apart. Because here's the thing, their relationship was always built on power, ambition, and control. But now, those same things are pulling them in different directions. And if neither of them is willing to step back, then what we're looking at isn't just tension anymore. It's the beginning of a complete breakdown. And then there's Gladys. The trailer gives us only small moments, but they're enough to raise serious questions. She looks calm, even content on the surface, but something feels off. Almost like there's more going on beneath that we're not being shown yet. And if George starts to believe that everything is fine with her, that could completely change how he sees the past, and more importantly, how he sees Bertha. Because deep down, that blame has always been there. And if that blame turns into something stronger in season 4, then the Russells aren't just dealing with outside pressure anymore. They're dealing with something much worse, pressure from within. And that's what the trailer is quietly building towards. Not a loud, explosive conflict right away, but something slower, heavier, and honestly, more dangerous. The kind of tension that doesn't just break relationships, it destroys them over time. And the scariest part? It feels like it's already started, but while the Russells are slowly heading toward what feels like an inevitable breaking point, the trailer shifts its focus in a very interesting way, because not every story is falling apart. In fact, some of them are finally moving forward. Or at least, that's what it wants us to believe. Let's talk about Marian and Larry, because their moments in the trailer feel completely different from everything else. There's a sense of calm around them, something that almost feels earned after everything they've been through. And if you remember how messy things got last season, especially with that whole ring situation, this shift feels important. The trailer shows them together, more confident, more certain. And it's not just about romance anymore. It feels like they're stepping into something bigger, something permanent. And yes, it strongly hints at a wedding. The kind of moment fans have been waiting for since the beginning. But here's the thing, nothing in this show comes easy. Even though everything looks perfect on the surface, there's always something underneath. And with Marian, that something has always been tied to her place in society. She's not like Bertha. She doesn't fight the same way. But that doesn't mean she's safe from the consequences of the world around her. And if this marriage really moves forward, it's going to pull her deeper into that world than ever before. At the same time, Larry's position makes things even more complicated. Being part of the Russell family means carrying all of that pressure, all of that expectation. And if his parents are already falling apart, then how does he build something stable with Marian in the middle of all that chaos? That's the question the trailer quietly leaves hanging. Now, moving on to Peggy and William, their situation feels a little more intense. Not dramatic in a loud way, but in a way that feels very real. Because unlike Marion and Larry, their biggest problem isn't uncertainty between them, it's everything around them. The trailer gives us a few subtle but powerful hints. Conversations that feel tense, looks that say more than words ever could, and most importantly, the presence of William's mother. And let's be honest, she's not backing down. If anything, it feels like she's becoming even more determined to stop this relationship. And that creates a completely different kind of conflict. One that isn't about love itself, but about whether love is enough to survive everything standing against it. What makes this even more interesting is William's position in all of this. Because he's clearly committed to Peggy. That part feels solid. But at the same time, he's stuck between two worlds, and eventually, he's going to have to choose. And that choice? It's not going to come without consequences. Then there's Oscar. His presence in the trailer is brief, but it carries a lot of weight. Because after everything he lost, after everything that completely broke him last season, what we're seeing now feels like the beginning of something new. There are hints of a connection with Enid, and it doesn't feel forced. It feels quiet, careful, like someone trying to rebuild after losing everything. But even here, there's that same pattern. Nothing is simple. Because Oscar's journey isn't just about finding love again. It's about finding himself again. And that's not something that happens overnight. The trailer makes that very clear. There's still pain there. Still hesitation. And that makes his story one of the most unpredictable going into season 4. And then, almost as a contrast to all this tension, we get small glimpses of Jack and Bridget. And honestly, their moments feel different in the best way. There's something genuine there. Something that hasn't been completely shaped or damaged by the pressures of society yet. And the way the trailer presents them, it almost feels like they're meant to be a kind of emotional balance for everything else happening. But even that comes with a question. Can something that simple actually survive in a world this complicated? Because if there's one thing this trailer makes clear across every storyline, it's this: no matter how strong something seems, no matter how perfect it looks, everything is about to be tested. And not everyone is going to make it through the same way. Now here's where the trailer starts to feel even heavier, because beyond the relationships, beyond the personal stories, there's something much bigger building in the background. And if you really pay attention, you can feel it in almost every frame. The world around these characters is changing. Not slowly, but in a way that's starting to shake everything they've built. You can see it in the scale of the events teased in the trailer. The gatherings feel larger, more intense, almost like every move now has higher stakes. It's no longer just about who gets invited or who gets accepted. It's about influence, power, control. And that's exactly where things start to get dangerous. Because once power becomes the focus, alliances start to shift. People who once stood together start pulling apart. And the trailer gives us just enough hints to suggest that season 4 is going to explore that shift in a big way. There are moments that feel political, even if nothing is said directly. Conversations that look calm on the outside, but you can tell there's strategy behind every word. And for someone like Bertha, this is where the real challenge begins. Because she's not just dealing with individuals anymore. She's dealing with a system. And systems don't break easily. At the same time, George's world seems to be expanding in a completely different direction. There are hints of bigger decisions, larger risks, things that go beyond family and start touching something wider. And that creates a very interesting contrast. While Bertha is trying to hold her position in society, George might be moving towards something that could change his position entirely. And if those two paths stop aligning, then what happens? That's the tension the trailer keeps building without ever fully revealing it. And then there's the feeling that not everyone is playing fair anymore. Because as the stakes get higher, the rules start to matter less. You can sense that some characters are willing to go further than before. to take risks they wouldn't have considered in earlier seasons. And that shift in behavior is what makes everything feel unpredictable. Because once people start crossing lines, there's no easy way back. Another thing the trailer does really well is showing how isolation starts to play a role. Even in crowded rooms, even in these massive social events, there's this feeling that certain characters are completely alone. Bertha feels isolated in a way we've never seen before. Surrounded by people, yet clearly not supported. George, in his own way, feels distant too. Like he's carrying something on his own. And even characters like Marion and Peggy, who seem to be moving forward, still feel like they're standing on uncertain ground. That's what makes this season feel different already. It's not just about external conflict anymore. It's internal. It's emotional. And it's slowly building into something that feels much more serious than anything we've seen before. Because when you combine personal struggles with larger power shifts, what you get isn't just drama. You get consequences. Real ones. And the trailer makes it very clear that those consequences are coming.